Let's talk about how the Black Christ icon paintings got in Russia. We must remember that these paintings were in Africa first. Most people don't know about the great campaign against the Emperor of Ethiopia, Tewodros II. The siege of Magdala consists of the British Empire invading Ethiopia, which was called Magdala and Abyssinia in the 1800s. The British Empire looted biblical manuscripts, artifacts, Renaissance paintings, and many other items, including gold. As Jeff Rosen mentions in his presentation of the secrets of England's greatness.
All of these costumes, the artifacts, ended up in British collections. When the British left Africa, the British Museum, the British Library obtained manuscripts. Napier, before he burned Magdala, made it really clear that they were to strip the churches of artifacts, and then they auctioned off the king's blood-soaked garments. So this was absolutely taken back to England as as emblems, concrete and symbolic of the victorious war. So these emblems, the South Kensington Museum, now V&A, has shield and lion mane ornament. Also, this is a refugee from a country that has been defeated, where its capital has been razed, and all of the treasures of the capital have been looted. The British used 2 elephants and 200 mules to sack Magdala and cart off all the treasures. Gold, Renaissance paintings, there's at least one Renaissance painting, and manuscripts, all that had important identity for the country of Abyssinia. With respect to the topic of this machine of British or fostering British identity, I think this gesture also solidifies it. It's British power that has subjugated the Black African on the right, and that's emblemized by the tattoo emblem. Think of bringing Indian elephants to Africa as war elephants, essentially. And at the same time, sheltering one of its native sons, the prince.
Queen Victoria was the Queen of the United Kingdom at the time when Magdala was sieged, and majority of the stolen items were under her possessions and passed down in her lineage, which ruled other lands such as Russia. At the outbreak of the First World War, their grandchildren occupied the thrones of Denmark, Greece, Norway, Germany, Romania, Russia, Spain, and the United Kingdom. For this reason, Victoria was nicknamed the Grandmother of Europe, and some of Victoria's grandchildren married into the Romanov family, aka the Russian Empire. So these icon paintings are in Russia because of what the British Empire did to Ethiopia. Not because these paintings come from Russia, but because they were looted in Africa. This is why Queen Victoria quoted, "I should so love to lay my crown at his feet," which is the risen Christ.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, where we dive into the stories, symbolism and controversies behind the art that has shaped cultures and beliefs around the world. I am so glad you are here because today we are exploring something truly fascinating, the truth about Russian icon paintings. Russia's icon hasn't just beautiful works of art, they are sacred objects with centuries of history, spirituality and cultural impact woven into every brush stroke. From their origins in the Byzantine Empire to their survival through the Soviet era, these icons have a lot to tell us about faith, art and the human experiences. But there is more to the story than meets the eye. In this channel, we are not just looking at the artistic beauty, we are unpacking the controversies and conversations they have sparked, like the portrayal of Jesus as white in many of these icons, and what that means in the broader context of history and representation. These are the discussions we need to have, and I want you to be part of them. Whether you are here to learn, question, or simply admire, this is a space for curiosity and conversation. We will explore the rich traditions of iconography, the stories behind their creation, and the model day reaction that keep these arts from alive and relevant. So if you are ready to uncover the truth about Russia icon paintings and maybe challenge some of what you thought you knew, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Trust me, you won't want to miss what is coming next.
My guy. You are most definitely wrong, because if it didn't matter, it wouldn't have been written. So a lot of people would like to know, what color is Jesus? What color is God's Spirit? So let's talk about it. And before I get started, please understand that this is not about the color, but it's about the truth. Yes, the Messiah was a black man, and God made his son in his image. God says in the Bible that his spirit is the color of jasper, sardine stone. In Revelation, it says his head and his hairs were white like wool. This is the color of white woolly hair. Who the only ones with woolly hair that stand out from the rest of the people? Black people. It said his feet was unto the color of fine brass, burnt in a furnace. Now this picture is the color of fine brass burnt in a furnace. Extremely black. The Messiah was a very, very dark man. And I know a lot of y'all like to say, no, he's Middle Eastern. So if y'all believe that he's Middle Eastern, then y'all should know that the Middle East was a part of Africa, right? Full of black people. Dark black people. Wait, but y'all love to say, no, he's an olive skin color. Well, let me tell you something. I only know 2 different color olives. The green olive and the dark black olive. So tell me which one it is. There's pictures from the 13th century of a black Messiah and black saints. To be honest, almost everybody in the Bible was black. And a lot of them had locks. That's why I'm kind of glad that a lot of us are coming back to our roots. A lot of us are starting to get locks, because it's really a part of who we are. So the Messiah had hair like wool that was as white as snow. He was the color of fine brass burnt in a furnace. He was from the Middle East, which back in those times was Northeast Africa. So I don't know who this man is, or what agenda they trying to put out. Even if they didn't believe that the Messiah was black, the least they could have did was make the hair white, make the eyes red. Like I don't know who they thought they was fooling with that image. Like, that's the true deception of Christ. Most of those people in the Bible was blacker than coal. And a lot of them would tell you that their skin is black upon them. And please understand that this is not racist. It's the truth. And all I want to do is wake my people up to who they really are. Because we are more important than y'all ever know.
So I made a video yesterday about how Jesus was a Middle Eastern person of color who gave away food and defended the oppressed, and I got a lot of comments like this. So it inspired me to start a series of why Jesus would have been considered a radical left socialist if he walked into America today. So for my first point, we're going to talk about how Jesus was not white. This is what he actually looked like. So a Middle Eastern person of color. So if you're Christian and you're a racist, that doesn't add up. This does not align with the current beliefs of the Republican Party because they support things like the Muslim ban. For my next point, we're going to be talking about things like Social Security. So we have, where I was hungry and you gave me food, I was thirsty and you gave me drink, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Also touches on immigration there. And more directly related to giving aid to the poor, we have, if a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? We're going to be getting into some more spicy topics later, like how he was murdered by an oppressive government, but if you want to prove some conservative Christian hypocrisy, follow along because I'm going to be making several parts.
And y'all whitewash Jesus. Let's make one thing clear. Everyone knows Jesus wasn't white. He was a Jew born in Bethlehem, lived in Galilee, so of course he's going to look like other people from around there. And not only is Jesus whitewashed, he's also blackwashed, he's also Asian washed. Literally every culture does it. Art of Jesus very frequently reflects the culture it came from. Like, let's start with this. A whole life-size statue of Black Jesus. This is a depiction of Jesus that has some Chinese Buddhist influences behind it. And while we're on Chinese, we may as well go over some other depictions. Like right here, this is him and the 12 apostles at the Last Supper. Every single one of them are Chinese. Do I care? No. Do I care about Chinese baby Jesus? No, it makes total sense. Here's a real crazy depiction. Check out how buff this Korean Jesus is. This guy's Last Supper was pure protein powder. He rolled the stone away himself. Here's another depiction of a clearly non-Jewish Jesus. And with all that, it kind of makes sense why white people would draw Jesus like this, doesn't it? This medieval painting of Jesus even has him without a beard, which definitely would not have gone in line with traditional Jewish norms. And to leave you with one more, here is an Ethiopian depiction of Jesus. Let's not pretend this was something invented by white people, and it makes complete and total sense why every culture would do this. It only makes it that much easier to connect with Jesus and the stories that you read about him if you imagine him to look like you.
Russian icons paintings are one of the most fascinating and misunderstood aspects of religious art. When most people think of art, they imagine something decorative, maybe something hung on a wall to admire, but icons are different. They aren't just art in the conventional sense. They are sacred objects deeply embedded in the spiritual of life of the Eastern Orthodox Church. These paintings, or as Orthodox believers prefer to say, these writings are designed to serve as windows into the divine. Let's start with the basic. Icons first came to Russia through the Byzantine Empire in the 10th century, when Kiev, Rus, what we now call Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, adopted Christianity. Byzantine missionaries brought with them not just the Christian faith but also the traditions of iconography. Over time, Russia developed its unique style, blending Byzantine techniques with local cultural elements. This wasn't just art for art's sake, it was art as theology, art as prayer. Icons are painted following strict rules, with every detail loaded with symbolism. For example, the gold background you see in many icons that represent divine light, an eternal realm that exceeded earthly existence. The figures are often elongated with serene, otherworldly expressions. This style is intentional. It's not about realism, it's about representing a spiritual reality. These figures aren't meant to look like us, they are meant to remind us of a higher plane of existence. Now, the process of creating an icon is just as fascinating as the icons themselves. Iconography, or those who write icons, typically prepare themselves spiritually before beginning their work. They may fast, pray, and reflect on their faith to ensure that their hearts and minds are aligned with the task. The materials they use, wood panels, natural pigments, and gold leaf, also reflect the sacred nature of their work. Every stroke of the brush is an act of devotion. But here is where things get even more interesting. Russian icons aren't just religious artifacts, they are also historical survivals. During the Soviet era, when religion was suppressed, countless icons were destroyed, confiscated, or hidden away. Churches were turned into museums, and religious practice were discouraged. Yet somehow these icons persisted. Many were smuggled out of churches, hiding into private homes, or preserved by art historians. Their survival is a testament to the resilience of faith and culture. Now let's talk about the topic that often sparks heated discussion: the depiction of Jesus in religious art. Including Russian icons, one thing people often notice about icons is that Jesus is depicted as having light skin, which has led to debate about his race and ethnicity. Historically, Jesus was a Jewish man from the Middle East. His skin tone would likely have been darker, more reflective of the region he lived in. However, in Russian iconography and in much of European art, Jesus is often portrayed with lighter skin. Why? Part of it has to do with cultural and artistic traditions. Artists tend to depict sacred figures in ways that resonate with their own communities. For Russian iconography, portraying Jesus and Mary with lighter skin and several features made these figures feel closer and more relatable to the people worshipping them. But this has sparked criticism. Many argue that this depiction contributes to an erotic view of Christianity, erasing the historical and geographical realities of Jesus' life. Some even say it reinforces racial heritage, promoting the idea of whiteness as divine or ideal on the flip side. Others argue that the purpose of icons isn't historical accuracy. Icons are meant to represent the divine in a way that transcends earthly categories like race or nationality. They are not trying to show us that what Jesus looked like. They are trying to show us who Jesus is. This debate isn't limited to Russian icons. Of course, you see it in Western art, in Hollywood movies, and even in model discussion about religious representation. It's a reminder that art, even sacred art, is never created in a vacuum. It reflects the culture and basis of the people who make it. In modern times, Russian icons have experienced a sort of resiliency since the fall of the Soviet Union. There has been a renewed interest in October's Christianity and its artistic tradition. Many young artists and scholars are now studying the ancient techniques of iconography, keeping this centuries-old tradition alive. And it's not just in Russian. Icons have gained international recognition as a form of sacred art, appreciated by both believers and non-believers alike. Now, let's address the reaction people have to icons. Some social media, for example, is full of people sharing their thoughts. Some are in awe of the spiritual and artistic depth of icons, seeing them as a testament to human creativity and devotion. Others are fascinated by the idea that these works hasn't just art but sacred tools for worship. But not everyone is on board. There are skeptics who see the veneration of icons as idolatry, a practice they believe goes against the biblical condemnment against graven images. This has been a point of contention for centuries, even leading to the iconoclastic controversy in the Byzantine Empire, where icons were banned for a time. Today, some Protestant groups continue to reject the use of icons, while others appreciate them as a cultural artifact. In conclusion, Russian icon paintings are more than just beautiful objects. They are a blend of art, faith, and history, offering a glimpse into a world where the sacred and the modern intersect. Whether you see them as a spiritual tools, historical artifacts, or simply stunning works of art, there is no denying their impact. They have survived centuries of change, wars, revolutions, and religious suppression, and they continue to inspire awe and devotion today. So, what do you think? Do icons hold a special place in your heart, or do you see them as a relic of the past? Are you fascinated by their symbolism, or do you find the idea of miracle working icons hard to believe? And how do you feel about the way Jesus is portrayed in religious art? Let me know in the comments below. I did love to hear your thoughts and comments. Thank you for watching, and let's continue this conversation in the comments below. Let us share our thoughts and perspectives with one another. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the story and more. I will see you in the next video.